Hello, in this video I want to analyze Whatifalthist's analysis of the anthropology of the left, and I would say this is by far his craziest videos. So it's one thing to disagree with somebody about abstract topics like communism or colonialism or stuff like that, but he really seems to view reality in a completely different way. I'll explain why. I don't want to spoil the video, so okay, let's start.
Marx talked a lot of the contradictions of the current ideological system and why there was an inevitable revolution that would form around an ideology that he has developed. Guess who predicts that there's going to be a revolution against the ideological contradictions of the current society while proposing a new ideology and a manifesto? Even while being his opposite in many ways, Marx still has a huge influence on me. Thomas Sowell has made a really fascinating point that's really stuck with me. He said in the modern world that what the left is clear, and whatever is not the left is the right. That the right basically shares no features across its coalition. When you look at the left, you see Marxist-derived ideologies which believe in a unified technocracy based around equality of all people, social engineering used to bring about utopia, wealth redistribution done through the state, the blank slate, among other things.
Okay, what I think that Whatifalthist generally doesn't really understand, and it is a problem in some of his other videos, he doesn't understand how fractured the left really is. He seems to believe all of them actually agree, all of them are in on this great leftist conspiracy, but no. So there are some people, I have no problem even calling them, let's say, woke, although nobody actually perfectly fits into these artificially made categories. That's also something that Whatifalthist seems not to realize, like the fact that there are some people, some of my friends are like that, they'll vote for the most far-right candidate on the one election, and then on the other they'll vote for the most far-left candidate. Kind of like Joe Rogan who first supported Bernie, and then he supported Ron DeSantis. Yeah, but okay, let's go back to the issue. So there are some people who are, let's say, woke. Then there are old school leftists like Slavoj Žižek who make fun of wokeness but are all about class struggle, Marxism. And yeah, then there are tankies. So all of these groups don't really like each other. Then there are liberals just like Sam Harris who is against all of those other schools of leftism. So yeah, it's kind of not really true that the left is so united. But I also do agree that the right is not really united. I mean, some people on the right love Israel, some hate Israel, some are indifferent, kind of, and there are many other issues. And also, well, one interesting thing about power and corruption. So Stalin, if you actually read his book Foundations of Leninism, Stalin argues that capitalism is dangerous because it concentrates too much power in hands of the capitalist, which kind of is absurd considering that he concentrated so much power in his own hands. But right-wingers seem to make this same mistake. Like Whatifalthist seems to be perfectly okay with like big corporations having a lot of freedom, let's say. He's against like state restricting their power, but then like he's the opposite of Stalin, but equally blind like to the problem that there needs to be a balance. That's my point. There needs to be a balance between the state and capital. But okay, let us continue.
There is the Western left and the Eastern left. This is an idea I've developed myself when I looked at the history of leftism. I think Western left is the line from Rousseau through the French Revolution, then into Bohemian culture, Weimar, the 1960s, and now with wokeness. Meanwhile, Eastern leftism starts with Karl Marx, then Lenin, Stalin, and Mao, and now with the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, I agree. I'm actually glad that Whatifalthist recognizes that leftism is not just one ideology, but multiple. But what's actually interesting is that if you view like Mao Zedong and Stalin through the prism of American politics today, which you shouldn't do, but many do, and so does Whatifalthist often, like he'll compare ancient Rome with, I don't know, with Trump, like the Gracco brothers with Trump. I still can't wrap my head around that comparison. I mean, I can, but it makes no sense really. But if we are to apply modern standards to, let's say, Mao Zedong and Stalin, culturally, not economically, culturally, they would be on the right. Mostly. Let me explain why. Like Stalin was, for example, against abortion. Why? Because he wanted the Soviet birth rate to remain high. That's a position that appears to be very right-wing generally today. Like Orban, for example, is very concerned about it. And actually, so am I. It is a bit of a mystery to me why leftists are not talking as much about the demographic decline, because it's going to be a huge problem if something doesn't change. But okay, Stalin, yeah, he was very concerned about not having enough manpower to fight wars, so he prohibited abortion. He also, well, the reason why he won over Trotsky in the Soviet Communist Party is because he was more traditional. Trotsky believed in this crazy Platonic idea that children should be raised by the state and taken away from families early on. Like when you are 5, you should be taken away and yeah, just raised by the state. So Trotsky was kind of crazier than Stalin in that aspect. Also, Stalin's idea of isolationism, which by the way, by today's standard, also appears to be more right-wing. Stalin, okay, was not completely isolationist, but in his rhetoric he was. And that was something that most people in the Soviet Communist Party liked. This idea that, okay, we do not have to constantly fight and help revolutions all around the world. We can focus on our country first. Socialism in one country, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, I would actually like for Whatifalthist to actually mention this in one of his videos, that if we are going to look at the cultural values of 20th century communism, that they would appear to be kind of right-wing. But okay, we also shouldn't forget that within those systems there were some marginalized ideologies like Trotskyism, which actually sound very much like leftism today. But those ideologies were never really that popular, neither back then nor today. Okay, let us continue. Okay, so here his video starts being significantly more crazy. Okay, so let's start. So let's look at this text wall. Okay, so he seems to believe that there will be a civil war in the 2020s. Okay, not that crazy. Many people have said it. Quite possible. But then he combines that idea with this idea of 70 years cycles. So he believes that every 70 years something really significant happens. And so he believes that the right will win this civil war, and then the left will win the crisis of the 2090s. And that crisis will be about genetical engineering. Okay, like he's making a wild guess here, but I really looked at this 70-year cycles theory, and it really makes no sense. So the theory claims that every 70 years something really important changes in history, like a new cycle begins. Well, then how do the 2 world wars fit into that idea? Like, First World War happens, creates a completely new world. Empires collapse, the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they collapse. Fascism emerges, communism emerges. But then we have World War II, and the map is changed once again. A map of Europe. Europe suddenly becomes way more ethnically homogeneous due to all these ethnic cleansings and genocide. So again, a new world emerges out of the ashes of World War II. And so World War II happens only 20 years after World War I. Where the hell are these 70 years? But okay, then let's jump to the fall of communism. Fall of communism happens 50 years after World War II. So again, not 70 years. So I mean, I guess we can just ignore World War II and say that between World War I and the fall of communism, there was roughly like 70 years, but why would we do that? Why would we do that? So, not to mention that some people argue that communism still persists in China, but okay, a different form of communism, communism that is mostly aesthetical. But yeah, even if we go to the past, like let's go to what was happening before World War One. So okay, World War One news cycle starts, but let's go 70 years to the past. What happened? Like the Crimean War that really wasn't that important. I mean, my point is, if you convince yourself that every 70 years there's going to be a new cycle, then you can find something important that happened. Like, I could argue that a new cycle of history began with the German unification. That completely changed the map of Europe. And a balance of power in Europe. And that did not happen 70 years before World War One, but 50 years before. I see no reason to actually believe in this 70 years cycle theory, but okay, let's continue.
In which the founders of the early left were obsessed with Pythagoras, who founded a cult based out of mathematical principles in 6th century Italy. Everything the left does is projection, in which the outward mask they wear is the exact opposite of the underlying reality. When the left wants diversity, what they're trying to cover for is to get everyone to cooperate as interchangeable cogs in the machine that is bureaucratic civilization. You're not supposed to find pride in your ethnicity, region, family, community, or religion, instead submitting to the managerial global homo, a great term I have a text wall here to explain.
Okay, once again, video becomes really bizarre and crazy in this segment. So okay, he refuses to actually steelman the argument of his opposition, and that is nationalism and ethnic hatred caused many wars throughout history. For example, World War One. Out of that, World War II was created. So he refuses actually to steelman the argument and say, well, this utopian ideology of leftism that can also be partially found in communism that says, well, okay, let's ignore ethnicity, race, focus on something else, like either class or just the fact that we are human. He refuses to acknowledge that that can also lead to peace and less war and good things. Now, I agree that that ideology in its extreme form is also bad. It reminds me of Stalin destroying like religious monuments because he believed that religion divides people and is allied with feudalism often and stuff like that. So yeah, and this thing, like he says, the left is all about projection. They do the opposite of what they say. Well, okay, so many problems with that statement. Who the hell is he actually talking about? Is he talking about the politicians? I mean, okay, like criticizing politicians is not something I would be against, like leftist politicians, but okay, I mean, he doesn't even bother to define the people he's talking about. If he's talking like about average people who just happen to be politically on the left, which is also very relative these days. I mean, being pro-Russia until recently was leftist, now it has become right-wing. So yeah, Whatifalthist also seems not to realize that leftist and rightist positions like change, and they have changed in fact in recent history. Like Trump in some of his positions sounds more like a leftist, let's say, at least when you look at American politics, for example, in his pro-Russian attitudes, in his isolationism and stuff like that. Although I would argue that Trump isn't truly an isolationist. And that brings me to my next point. So what Whatifalthist is describing is just political hypocrisy that exists on all sides. Not just on the left. Like he says, the left is so unique in the fact that they project, they pretend to be one thing, but then they're actually something else. Yeah, like you just discovered hypocrisy in politics. Like slow clap, my friend. Trump does that all the time also. Like he says he's against corruption, then he takes $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. How is that different? Like, yeah, yeah. So, but okay, let's continue. Let's continue. Okay, okay. Trigger warning for all of you who are watching this video. This segment, if you saw that, it can get crazier. It can. It can. Okay, let's see what happens.
One of the most beautiful moments of my life is when I was on Twitter looking at a debate between a leftist woman and a conservative man. I was watching them go at it for a few tweets, and then the leftist woman wrote a criticism of the conservative that was incredibly beautiful because it was such an artistic and intelligent depiction of the flaws in her own argument. I would not be able to write something that poetic if I tried, and seeing the degree.
Okay, so what the hell is the point of just telling us about this argument and then never showing it nor explaining what the hell happened? Like, logic is beginning to disappear from this video. But okay, okay, I have to stay calm. I have to stay calm and just analyze this video in a rational and polite way. Okay, let's continue.
Of the left's projection makes me believe in the human soul because there is some deep part of people that know what is inherently wrong. With the rise of the Industrial Revolution came the bureaucracy, which is the underlying driving social class behind the left. I've said before in previous videos that the left exists in the modern West to push the self-interests of the college-educated. Every single thing in the leftist worldview comes from the college-educated self-interest. They push for the abolition of the police and the replacement with college-educated social workers. They want to get rid of the military and replace them with college-educated diplomats. They pervert college-educated professors to traditional religions and their priests. They loathe the working classes at this point, while treating the college-educated barista as their target demographic.
Okay, so many things actually don't make sense with this theory. Now he's, in my opinion, actually contradicting himself even. So baristas are working class, they are not well paid, you don't even need to have a college for being a barista, so then why would somebody, if we are to look at class interests, and he's talking about class interests now, then why would a barista be leftist? If leftist politicians always ignore the working classes. But okay, the answer is obviously people don't vote only out of their financial interest. That is also something that is just a fact of reality. People will often vote on cultural issues, I don't know, abortion and stuff like that. But yeah, and also this idea that leftist politicians, and let's even stick with the United States. He's talking about the United States. Just argue for the positions that are in the interest of the college-educated is not actually true. Most unions supported Biden. Then again, if you want to be a military officer, you need to have a college degree. At least that's how it's in my country. I believe it's the same in the United States. So yeah, like his theory just shatters once it reaches the Earth, the real world. But okay, let us continue.
Another interesting element here is that we've consistently found from SAW, or an acronym I invented for Studies in Ancient Wisdom, is that women are just as aggressive as men. They just put that aggression into interpersonal relationships.
That is true, but why the hell did you need ancient wisdom to realize that? You can just observe the world, my friend, but okay, let's continue.
This occurs through GSR, or gossiping, shaming, and rallying, that being female relational warfare. If you look at what the left does, they always smear their enemies and make their enemies socially unpalatable. They've been doing this to the right for decades. Leftism is GSR on a continental industrial scale. For an easy example of this, the left criticizes me for being a pseudo-intellectual incel, autistic, egomaniacal, deranged, schizophrenic, broke, loser, fascist Nazi. None of those are true, and for many of those, the reality is the exact opposite, but that...
Okay, I think we have reached the point where we can end this video, but again, like this double standard, like he speaks as if no right-wing politician ever lied about his opposition. Yeah, that just happens in politics, and okay, I understand he's probably hurt because he has been insulted in the comment section many times, but okay, I got a big truth bomb to drop, like that happens to all YouTubers. I mean, even to me. I have a very small channel, but yeah, some people who disagree with me still felt the need to insult me in the comments. So nothing unique about that, my friend. Nothing unique about that. Okay, I think now it's time to end this video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more videos like this.